B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
The Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea has a population of just under 160,000 people and is one of the most culturally and economically diverse boroughs in London. Famous landmarks like the iconic Portobello Road and the King's Road attract thousands of visitors every year. The Notting Hill Carnival, being the borough's largest annual event every August, also sees an influx of people from across the country. The borough is also home to some of the greatest museums in the world, including the Natural History Museum and world-famous shops like Harrods. But amongst this melting pot of cosmopolitan cultural diversity lies the harsh reality of poverty. Kensington and Chelsea is one of the most polarised local authority areas in the UK in terms of standard of living. The streets are not paved with gold for many struggling and disadvantaged families who live in the borough. There are pockets of severe deprivation and inequality. 2008 saw the breakdown of the economy and the country plummeted into a recession. Low-income families were hit the hardest. At the Social Council, we provide a local voice for the voluntary and community sector. We provide information and support to the organisations who are in Kensington and Chelsea. In response to the economic climate, we identified the need to research how local families were coping. Since its launch in September 2012, we have been working with 35 local children and families groups in the borough to help them gather evidence on child poverty.
Most of our clients, they have problem of that. Mohammed Yusuf, she's one of the mothers. She has 4 children under 5, and she is one of the people who get our services.
The statistics of child poverty in 3 of the wards in the north of the borough are 51% in Goulburn, 43% in St Charles, and 41% in Notting Barnes. We also have a pocket in the south of the borough where 37% of children who live in the Cremorne ward are living in poverty. Despite the hard times, many families are still showing resilience and are still committed to living and working in this borough.
I live in 10 years now. I'm very happy now because even my daughter, she got blessed for 3 days, childcare. She is 2 years and a half. I can study now, so it's amazing, to be honest, this one.
As family life gets tougher, the services that these groups provide act as a lifeline and a buffer for local families because they depend on them so much. Our findings were also used to identify any gaps in services so that organisations could address the needs of deprived families. Kensington and Chelsea prides itself on being so diverse. However, we are now seeing an increase in some families being moved out of the borough as they simply cannot afford to live here.
I used to live in Kensington and Chelsea 6 years ago, but the problem, we couldn't afford in the end, so this situation I have to go to the council. They put me temporary accommodation in Cuckoo.
What we would like to see are small changes that can have a huge impact on local families. So we have several recommendations that we would like to put forward. The first is an introduction of a school uniform grant. We would like more information on local activities for families and more subsidised childcare.
We run childcare provision for children, mainly in the North Kensington of the borough. Since the economic downturn, we've noticed a sharp increase in children accessing the centre because we're free.
We would also like to see more opportunity for local residents to speak with local councillors and decision makers. We'd also like to see more training on how to use the internet to become more tech savvy, so that parents are then able to find out what activities are available and to also help their children with their homework. We want the services that local groups currently offer to stay and be enhanced, as they are vital in supporting these families living on very small incomes. Cuts to services would simply push these vulnerable families out of the borough. One parent, when asked what she'd cut back on, she said that she'd cut back on food because she can live without food, but her children can't. And crucially, it is the children who use the services who will suffer the most. If they're to move out of the borough and move to a different school, that disrupts their education.
I don't move them from their school because my kids, they're happy in their school. You know, they have friends from early, so I can't change their situation.
From the evidence, we found out that many local families were unable to take their children away on a family holiday. We'll be relaunching the Family Getaway Grant in early 2014. We're more than happy to put some money towards their trips so they can all have a lovely time. Small changes now will make a big difference to everyone, rich and poor, who live in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea.
Really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy